showing you a mixed media project today. This is called the Mosaic Pendant, and it'll be featuring the use of both some wire working skills and then also just learning to punch holes and cutting a little bit of the leather. If you need any of the materials for this Mosaic mixed media pendant, you can go below the video to the date stamp that says when the video was created and the date. Drop down there so you can purchase your beads from us at potomacbeads.com and potomacbeads.eu. So you can check out all of the things that you need, including some leather, a tassel, a bunch of different random seed beads, some wire head pins, and then if you want to put it on a leather necklace, we may even get to a little pair of earrings too. So go ahead and check out what those materials are. We're going to start with loading on some seed beads onto our head pins, so you will need some pliers handy, as well as, like I said, something to punch holes and something to cut. So to begin, I picked out 9 beads that I strung onto my 3-inch head pins. Again, these are a 20 or 22 gauge would work the best head pin. The head pins work well because it's a stiff wire versus an artistic wire, which is going to be a little bit softer. You can do them with either. You want to use a 20 gauge if you're using the art wire. Here I have some of the new spacer beads from Miyuki, and then I have 11-ohs and 8-ohs and some other spacers in smaller sizes and even a strand of 15-ohs. So I have 9 different beads that I put on, and what I did was I put them on equal distance. So I did 1 inch of each beads. Obviously the number of beads is going to change because the count is going to be different because the size of the bead is different. But the number one thing is you want to make sure that the length is the same. So go ahead and get a ruler out, pick out your beads and measure out your length. Once you have your length measured out, go to the end of the head pin, grab your round nose pliers, and simply roll over that ending so that you have a loop. To straighten out the loop, put that long piece of wire back onto the round nose pliers and just turn the round nose pliers ever so slightly to straighten that out. You want to make sure whatever size you do the loop that it also stays consistent. The more consistent the length and the loops, the better this piece is going to turn out. So I'm just going to kind of take that right there and make sure that it's nice and rounded out. You're going to continue doing that through those however many long you want your section to be. In my case, those 9 pieces. Even though they're head pins, I'm actually going to be cutting off the end of the head pins, and we're going to be turning over the wire at the other end. At the other end, you want to leave, and you can measure this out if you want, you want to leave about 1/8 of an inch of wire. Cut off the extra wire. You can save this head pin because it's long for something else. Take your plier to the very end of the round nose pliers where you can see the wire but you can't feel it, and you want to make sure you're at a consistent loop size. And you're going to turn the wire and roll it down towards that ending. Notice how the eye pin is a little bit off-centered. Again, put that eye pin in to the round nose pliers, back to where it stops, and then twist it back just ever so slightly and straighten out that loop. When you're done with these loops and bars, you want to make sure that both loops are facing towards you. So as you're looking at them, you can see both loops. If it happens that you twist one and turn one and it's not facing towards you, go ahead in with a pair of needle nose pliers and just kind of push and pull and flatten that one out. I'm going to repeat this same process after stringing those beads here to 1 inch, doing the same thing. So I like to do everything at one time. String all the beads, roll it all. Then take them all, cut them all. That way you know you're using the same exact amount of wire. And you don't necessarily need to have your actual ruler out to measure. Roll it down and then bend it back ever so slightly. Just continue on, grabbing the next one. Again, leaving that same amount of wire. Taking the end, oops, turning it over, and then straightening it out. And if you need help with these eye pins, you can go to other YouTube videos that I have and see the more detailed version of the eye pins. So I'm going to hold that one there, and you see this one's off a tiny bit, and I'm just going to twist it a tiny bit. The wire will be forgiving, so that way the 2 eye pins face in the same direction. Put that down and continue on with the rest of your eye pins, making them into these little bars that we will connect. Once you're done turning the actual bars over, you're going to end up with 19 pieces of wire that you can use for another project. So you're not actually wrecking the whole headpin. That's why I suggest 2 or 3 inches of headpin to work with. I'm going to push those off to the side, and they can be used for my next project, maybe my pair of earrings. And I'm grabbing some artistic wire jump rings. These are 18 gauge, which means they're going to be a little bit harder to open, which is what I want because I don't want the eye pins coming apart. So I'm going to open up those artistic wire head pins, or I'm sorry, jump rings. And once I have those, it's just going to be a connecting game. So you need to figure out what pattern you want your actual beads to be in. And I have a round nose pliers and my needle nose pliers handy. And I'm going to take those two and use them to open up these jump rings. So I'm going to open up the jump ring by holding with one plier. And ever so slightly, I'm just going to open a tiny bit. I'm going to pick whatever one I want at the bottom, and I'll use a bigger one at the bottom. And then next in line. Close that up then. Now as you have all of your eye pins lined up and finished and all of your strands the exact same size, you're going to grab 2 more of your head pins. And what we're going to do is we are going to string them onto the head pin, so that way it creates almost that flag look. So I'm going to take one, my 11 O's here, and string it onto my head pin, which is going to almost act like a bead stop, and stop that loop there from falling off the end. Then another 11 goes on, and your next piece. And you're just going to string these on. Again, you can make it however long you want. Just stringing these on with the 11O as a spacer. You can also, if you want to, space them out further, which would just mean using more of your seed beads. So you're going to continue doing this on one side and then the other side. As we get to the top then of the sides, all we're going to do is repeat that same rounding effect, just creating the loops big enough to string on whatever you would like to. So if you don't want to string on leather and you want to string on chain, you just need to make the eye pins at the top of these side head pins large enough to do so. After I finish adding all of the beads on and the head pins, I'm going to finish with a seed bead. And then just to make it easier, so I don't have these super squished as I'm working with them, I'm just going to go to the top of this head pin, take my pliers, and basically make a stop, just rounding that out. Then I'll repeat on the other side with my next head pin, creating that fun spacing with the seed beads in between. After you have all your seed beads and head pins on, at the top of the head pin, you're just going to leave a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, about 1/4 of an inch, and turn over, leaving yourself a big loop. I'm going to do the same thing on this other side here. Once you finish one side, I'm going to cut down and do the same thing going with my round nose pliers. I'm going to round out that wire, creating a big loop. And you want the loops, the head pins will spin around, but you're going to want the loops so that they're facing the same direction, kind of inward there, that you're not seeing the loops, because that's what's going to hold our cording. Again, you can make this as long or as short or spaced out as you want. And then I have my seed bead section, and I'll get ready to start with my leather. So to assemble this now, I actually have my leather cut, and I want to see my leather about 1/8 of an inch on either side of my piece of bead section. Now that's up to you aesthetically how you want it. I decided I was going to keep it flush and see more at the bottom, but I'd like to see the top, so I went ahead and added 2 jump rings to the top of the actual beaded section. Here on the leather, you can measure it out. It comes in the strip, and you can measure it out exactly how long and how far you want it to be. To punch holes in the leather, you can either use a leather punch, you can actually use a metal punch, or I'm just going to be using a set of tweezers here, separating out how far I want those loops to be, keeping in mind that I don't want them too close to the top because you don't want to rip the leather off with the jump rings. Making 2 little impression marks then, I'm just going to take my pointed tweezers here and a reamer, the tulip awl. All of those little tools will work perfectly for this. I'm just going to take it and increase the hole size by spinning it around. I have one there, I have my little dot, and I'll make my other one. So again, kind of don't overthink it. You can actually use a safety pin for this as well. And just kind of as you see, you're twisting the tool back and forth. Or twisting the leather, either way, but twisting the tool works the best. And just increasing the size of the loop. There I have my 2 loops, and now I'm going to grab 2 jump rings, put them through the loops, opening them up, putting it through the loop, and then closing up that jump ring, which will go right along the top of the project. Likewise at the bottom, I'm going to put a hole in the middle to hang my tassel from. Again, if you want to do multiple holes, you can hang a couple of those head pins that you have left. You could hang a couple little beads down there. You can hang charms. So really you can make it your own. Once I have my loop on, I'm going to close up that loop. And now I have my piece of leather with my loops at the top. I have my piece of beading. And now I'm going to make my loop there to attach my piece of my actual tassel. So same thing, just going in right in the center there, reaming it through, making the loop, and then attaching on my jump ring and my tassel to hang from the bottom. It's now time to assemble our piece, and I just have 1 millimeter leather cording here. And starting at the end, I'm going to pick up my beaded section first and run through the last jump ring. Pick up my leather then, run through the ring at the top, straight across to the other ring. Then I'm going to go to the other side of my pendant and make sure I'm going through the jump ring in the correct direction, and let that all slide onto the leather. If you want it to sit that it's not going to shift and not going to turn, you can actually take it and put beads in between as well. That's kind of up to you. The other idea that you can do is actually glue this to the leather or punch holes in the leather and almost make a stop, taking this head pin, going through and twisting it right along the back. That'll actually stop it from moving along the leather as well. If you want to keep it moving and just kind of flowing, you're just going to put it on and it's just going to sit on the piece like I'm going to do. Then you're going to determine how long you want the piece. I see this as a longer piece, so that's up to you how long you want it to be. I'm going to cut my leather so that it's about 30 inches, and we'll get ready to put our ends on the leather piece. You can also do this as a slip knot that you don't need the ends at all. That is up to you as well. Again, it's just aesthetically what you want it to look like. So once you have it all assembled and cut to the size that you want, you're going to want some leather ends. These are fold over leather ends. And again, like I said, because it can go around my neck, I can simply tie along the back, but I wanted to show you how to add these ends and then a clasp with a jump ring if you wanted to. To add the ends, all you're going to do is put the leather into the end. The end has a little tiny spike that sticks up there. You're going to take your pliers then and fold one side over and then the other side. So you're just going to fold one side flat, keeping the leather inside, and then you're going to fold the other side over. Flatten it out, and there you have your end. If you want to, you can use a little bit of glue and glue into that. That's up to you. I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. Put the leather in, right along that spike. And these ends will hold up to 2 millimeter leather. So again, this is 1. So 1.5 and 2 will also go in here. And you're just folding over one side and then the other side. All I'm going to do then is take some jump rings and attach my clasp and finish my piece. If you want to, then I have sitting here just some ideas that I made simply with scraps. I had extra pieces of leather. I used 2 jump rings and then did the bar technique Used another ring at the top, and I'm putting them on earrings to match my little pendant piece. Again, to open the jump rings, you're just going to hold with one side, grab your other set of pliers, twist that ring to the side, opening it up, slide it onto the end, slide it onto your finding, and close it up. And then you're going to have an actual clasp on your leather piece. Once you're finished again with your mosaic necklace here, you can also tackle the little earrings and get those lined up. And hopefully this gives you a great idea for doing these mixed media, mixing up using some of that leather strapping and kind of looking at things and repurposing things. You may also have some things sitting around, and how you can punch holes in it, add to the design, keep it separate, add those jump rings, and make this mosaic pendant. As always, you can purchase from us at potomacbeads.com and potomacbeads.eu. Below the video, again, there's that list of materials in the description of the video, and we'll be happy to ship off some materials to you. You can also stay connected with us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Pinterest, and join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Show what you design, what you make, and especially if you get your hands on some of this mixed media stuff, I'd love to see your creations. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have fun creating.